Hi there, my name is Kay Moon, and I'm a Twin Soul Channel and Western astrologer. And this is a video about the full moon in Gemini occurring on December 18th, 2021 at 11:35 p.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. Thank you so much for all of the likes, subscribes, and shares to this channel. If you're new, welcome. I am typically here most new and full moons to do a breakdown of the energy for light workers and for twin souls. I do them in separate videos. And I wanted to let you know that if you've been waiting for time to get on my calendar, I have officially reopened the calendar now that we're a bit caught up. And there's some space at the end of January. If you'd like to book some time for me to look at your chart for you, you can schedule either a recording or a live reading if the times in the calendar work for you. You can find bookings over at kmoonastro.com. Happy holidays, everyone. Let's get into it. This full moon occurs at the 27th degree of Gemini. Let's pull this out so we can all have a look. There's our full moon, and opposite our sun at the 27th degree of Sagittarius. This full moon is sextile the planet Jupiter. The sun is trine Jupiter. So Jupiter brings expansion and harmony and luck, hope, optimism, faith. And it also is, unfortunately, a slight square, but not an exact one, thank goodness, to Neptune. This full moon, because of its close from the perspective of degrees, closeness to Jupiter and distance from Neptune, we do have the expansiveness and the hope and the opportunities of Jupiter influencing this full moon, despite Neptune's cloudiness, Neptune's fog bringing abilities, and Neptune's confusion making. We still have a great set of reasons under the light of this full moon to have something to be happy about, something to look forward to, something to enjoy. Whenever we have a T-squaring energy, I talk about this a lot on my channel, that when we have occupation in 3 of the modes out of 4, but the 4th one is unoccupied, then the solution is for us with our light being and our star body to occupy that 4th modal sign. We have occupation by the moon in mutable sign Gemini up here. Our emotions and our needs are hanging out in the world of communication and mental constructs. We have occupation of our ego nature and our sun and our creative self down here, the opposite sign of Sagittarius, which is all about truth and freedom, faith, and the principles by which we would like to guide our lives. But the two things are really pulled in opposite directions. And this fulcrum point highlights it. That's where Neptune sits in Pisces. And this is all about the mist, the ether, things being able to go any which way because there is no specific way that they are destined to go until we call in the last of the mutable signs, Virgo. And that's the energy that we are meant to occupy at this particular lunation. If we call in Virgo energy and occupy Virgo energy, we have the opportunity to make clarity where there is confusion, to make decisions where there may be deception, and to create discernment where there may have instead been a little bit of chaos. That Virgo energy is also about details and dedication, service, honoring our own health and well-being. And while this is normally a time of year where people are enjoying one another, enjoying family, enjoying holiday spirit, holiday season, this is a great time to remember what our personal limits are, to not get carried away, to take what we've learned about our health and well-being from the year and build it into the way we work our holidays this time around. what I like about Virgoan energy is the way that Virgoan energy is, it's an opportunity for us to get clear about how do I put this? If we have a vision in mind, which we will with this Jupiter speaking in harmony to this full moon, there's some sort of vision that we have faith, hope, and optimism about. What I like about us needing to occupy the sign of Virgo with our star body is it focuses us. It gives us something, a reason to be hopeful, because we can see the task, we can see the details, we can understand the work that needs to get done if we're willing to lean into the Virgo energy with our own bodies. We'll be collecting a lot of details into the start of Capricorn season about that vision, that picture that we'd like to bring into fruition in 2022. And that's when more things will also become clear in the third dimension. With the moon and the sun having the conversation that they are with the Neptune right now, and even the conversation the moon is going to have with Neptune over the next several days, what things are at this point in time are not what they're going to appear to be by the time we start and finish next week. So, one thing I want to say about this in particular is to be very careful in communications at this time. Take it slow, stay open. Once we get into the December 20th time period, so it's just 2 days after this full moon, once we hit December 20th, we'll be in a period of time where the moon is going to be directly opposite this Venus-Pluto conjunction down here. And this brings us to some of the planetary energies that are available outside of this full moon, which I like to kind of talk about separate. But because this particular moon is going to move within 48 hours pretty quickly toward the opposition of this very heavy, very confronting energy of Venus and Pluto conjunct, which we felt at the last lunation. It's just only ramped up since then. It's going to be, and Mars is just close enough. So here's Mars, still just close enough to the end of water sign Scorpio. We'll have moon in water sign Cancer. Then we'll have Venus retrograde talking to Pluto all at the same time. There's just enough, it's just enough kind of pushiness from Mars, tension from the moon opposite this Venus retrograde talking to Pluto. It lends itself to just a little bit of tension, a little bit of aggressiveness, a little bit of like snippiness in the tone at the wrong time in our family connections, as moon will be occupying Cancer, the sign of families. In our work connections, as this Venus retrograde will be in the sign of work, Capricorn. And if we're mixing emotions and alcohol or other substances, as many are wont to do at the holidays, it's a recipe for needing to take back some words and actions that can't be unseen or unheard. So go easy. Go easy as we head into the last 2 weeks of the year. Go easy on the festivities and the celebrations as we allow ourselves to, get swept up in the merrymaking. Emotions, especially right around the time of this full moon, will run very high for many people. As some people will have a lot of holiday travel going on, or work and family transitions they need to manage. So if you can give yourself and others a bit more grace, we're going to find that it smooths the rough edges at this lunation for everyone. So happy holidays, guys. All of that to say, there's a lot of other energies here that are having all the fun with us, which I'm going to get into right now. But if you're hearing something that resonates for you and you're new to the channel, welcome. Please subscribe. And if you've been here for a while and what you're hearing also resonates for you, and you'd like me to have a look at how the stars are going to play out for you in 2022, and what this Venus retrograde is going to bring for you, since we'll be dealing with this energy on this heavy karmic, fated, destined, confronting our shadow energy all the way through the end of January. So much fun. Definitely book a reading with me over at kmoonastro.com. Let's talk about some of the other energies available at this lunation. We have Mars sextile Saturn. So here's Mars. We just talked about Mars receiving a bit of having just small, not a lot, small amount of influence on the Venus retrograde here with Pluto. But Mars is speaking more directly at this time to Jupiter and Saturn. Here we go. There they both are. And also to Chiron, and probably most directly to Chiron, as the degrees are probably the closest there with a 4-degree orb. So with this much influence on our friendly, ambitious planet Mars, this gives us an energy of wanting to work things through for the higher good. It brings a little order to the chaos that has been our lives as of the last 2 eclipses. But the challenge is that we may be trying to fix things rather than foster actual healing or forgiveness. New ideas may be on the table, especially with the position here of Uranus speaking to Mercury, which I'm going to come to in a moment. There's a lot of new ideas on the table at this time. But with Chiron in the mix, having a conversation with that Mercury, and Chiron having a conversation with this Mars, who's very motivated to get on with things under the influence of both Jupiter and Saturn, to get on with things in a very grounded way. With Chiron in the mix, unfortunately, these new ideas are very mixed up at this time with old wounds. It's very mixed up at this time with old pain. And it's mixed up in a way that these wounds are almost as fresh as the day they were rendered. And so even though there's this deep desire to move forward and push past the pain and push past the past, it's possible for sure. But the Chiron square to Mercury may mean that we need to get we may get some wounded communication. We may actually deliver some wounded communication, and or our solutions at this time may be very much clouded by limited beliefs that aren't really true. And so it's necessary to really use this energy in a different way. It feels, we're going to feel a compulsion to take an action, to do something in the outer world. That's here for sure. There's too much Jupiter, too much Mars going on here for us to not feel a compulsion. And with Mercury and Uranus under the light of this full moon, it's like, yeah, I got to say something. I got to speak my mind, speak my truth. I have to put it out there. But at the same time, this would actually be a better way to use this energy at this time would be to seek out a little bit of therapy, some coaching, do some shadow work, some mirror work, and really work through why we feel the way we feel with the actions we feel must be taken at this time, and actually get some feedback from a neutral third party. You guys know how I feel about involving muggles in magical matters. Those are not the third parties I'm talking about. Actually get some feedback from another magical being if you are a magical being. But the deal here is utilize this energy to get some real deep clarity for ourselves about where we think the ship is headed and what we need and what we want and why, and have someone tease out with us where our wounding might be clouding our judgment. Okay. With Mercury also in conjunction to Juno here to Mercury's right and Pholus here to Mercury's left, those two energies in particular are, Mercury is having a conversation about relationships, but with Pholus in the mix, it's about where we have felt like we've gotten the short end of the stick, where we have we're coming to consciousness about, wow, I've really been collateral damage to this person's issue in their life. And if they could just clean that up, things could be really good. You see how that came out of my mouth? There's a blamey energy here. There's a recognition that you may not be at fault, and that may make you want to work things out. However, wherever there are two people on the dance floor, there are, in two cars in a crash, there are two people who need to take responsibility as well. I'm not talking about those head-on collisions, where somebody jumps so a truck like jumps the guardrail and smashes into your car, but specifically where you know that there's probably some culpability on your part too, rather than trying to rush in and fix things with another. Judo representing our partnerships, business and romantic. It's a great idea to use this time to take a look and see, now that I see all of your issues, let me just take a look back behind me at my mirror and see where there's a mirror on my side of things to precisely what it is I recognize is a problem in the way you and I are interacting from your side of things. Before I check you, let me check me. Before I try to correct you, let me correct me. Before I try to make things up with you, let me make things up with me and my wounded self and my inner child and the place where I have things that I need to work through so that I'm not holding unforgiveness over you or blame over you as the key to making things right. Okay. So we're going to get a lot of epiphanies with Uranus speaking to Mercury in this way, instant insights, a lot of kind of like ideas, big ideas as well about the structure of our relationships. Both Uranus and that Mercury are inside Earth signs. So it's structure related, Earth related, body related. Right? We're going to get some ideas and insights about how these things might need to change in order for us to be able to move forward. And again, while the impulse will be there to rush and go do something about it, what there's to do at this time and what's recommended for this period of time, just maybe a little bit more internal than external. Write about it, journal about it, talk to a non-judgmental, non-coachy friend about it, speak to a therapist. Use the mercurial energy to get it out of your system through your fifth chakra. Speak on it, but hold before you speak on it to the other person involved, okay? Unpack it with the insights that you're receiving. Unpack those insights. And as you move through recognizing where the wounds are and where some of the blind spots may be, because Pholus can also represent some of our blind spots, how we have gotten hurt by our blind spots. As we start to tease out where those things may be, that'll give us the opportunity down the road to be heard in the way that we mean to be heard. Unfortunately, with this chironic influence on Mercury and Pholus influencing Mercury and Juno being here, Uranus can kind of have some things fly out of our mouth that we just can't take back at this time, unfortunately. And we may hear words from other people that we're going to wonder, did you really mean it like that? When you said it like that, is that really true? Right? And so it's prudent at this time to use some caution, since sometimes words can come out in ways that they are and be heard by the receiving party in ways they aren't meant. The message, there's a high propensity at this time for the message sent and the message received to not be the same thing. So hold if you can, especially while Venus is doing this retrograde thing with Pluto. Hold if you can on really critical conversations with people. Let's get a little bit further into this Venus retrograde, get Venus a bit further away from Pluto. Let's get Mercury away from Pholus and away from Chiron. In a few weeks' time, after the holidays, there will be ample opportunity to sort things through with others. But at this time, it's kind of like, my wounds are going to be in a knife fight with your wounds, and nobody's wounds are going to get healed that way. We're just going to create more wounding. So it's better to just, with this energy, just take a beat. If you got some feelings, process them with someone else, because this is a very verbal processing mechanism with this energy, and then come back to it with the person you want to talk about it with at a different time, in a few weeks' time. Okay. But if stuff comes up, right, and you just can't get out of that conversation, somebody's bringing it to you, then trust. One of my favorite astrology teachers always says, her name's Nadia Shah, she says, trust your life. If something's coming up at this point as a conversation for you to deal with, trust your life, that there is something necessary about this. I was doing some research and some work recently in the world of communication, and I came across a communication skill called the Therapeutic Apology. And I'm going to link that below so that you guys can take a look at that and understand what that means and why and how that would be a very healing thing to receive and to give to other people. So if for some reason somebody's bringing it to you and they're in their wounding, and you know that you have a part in it, but it wasn't all you, offering being in the practice of the therapeutic apology and sharing that with them may also really help unpack what happened, diffuse and de-escalate it, so that the healing can actually begin. So you'll find the link to that below. And then if you can, unpack your part about it with this person at a different date and say, like offer the apology and say, hey, thank you for sharing all of this. And I have some things I'd like to share on it as well. Maybe in a couple weeks' time, I'd like to really digest what you've said. And then you can bring your part of your feelings to the table as well. And they'll probably be far more receptive at that point in time, simply because this energy has everyone feeling a little bit like emo and verbal at the same time. This full moon in Gemini, it's like I'm emo with this Venus Pluto conjunct. All my feels are up. And Gemini is just like verbal diarrhea, verbal diarrhea, verbal diarrhea when the full moon in Gemini is talking to Jupiter. So this is the energy of a lot of talk about nothing, a lot of talk going in circles, a lot of hot air moving. So give this a little bit of space, and then you'll find that you'll be able to come to better resolution with people after the holidays into January, into February. Okay. All right. Do I have anything else to say about this? No, the shadow energy is going to be up. I talked very in depth about confronting our shadow energy during this Venus retrograde, which begins on November 19th. So just the day after this full moon, and goes to the last day of January before we start February. Venus retrograde can be notorious for bringing exes back from the dead and old work situations back from the dead, but it's not always going to play out that way, depending upon the house placement that Venus retrograde is going to show up for you in your natal chart. So if you'd like me to look at that for you, we've got lots of time in January. Feel free to book a reading now. Further, this energy is going to be with us. Venus doesn't leave shadow until the end of February. So this energy is going to be with us for some time, and there is a lot of dealing with, digesting, and unpacking the shadow energies of Pluto, because she's going to talk to Pluto 3 different times. She's already hit Pluto once. She'll hit Pluto again in the next week, and then she'll hit Pluto a final time before she exits out of her retrograde path. So Plutonian energy is all about our shame, our fears, our power struggles, the things we'd rather hide from other people that we don't want them to know or to see about ourselves. And so, where this is coming up for you, and it will be mirrored in relationships, for sure, it will be mirrored there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's something to work out with the other person. For many of us, this means that there is something in us that needs to be worked out within ourselves so that we can have healthier connections going forward. All right. If you heard something that resonates, again, I'm just going to ask that you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. If you're new, welcome. And if you'd like me to take a look at this energy for you, this Venus retrograde, the upcoming Mercury retrograde, or the stars in 2022, the calendar is open over at kmoonastro.com. I would be more than happy to read for you. Take great care, and bye for now.